I graduated from college and I got out into the real world and I went to a church where there was no choir. I'd never been in a church where there was no choir. I didn't know churches met without choirs. And I remember saying, well, where's the choir? And the answer was, what choir? I thought it was wrong. I thought it was wrong in the sense of right and wrong, good and evil. It's really true. And I remember thinking, well, that's wrong. You cannot have church without a choir. One day I stood out in the narthex of the East Salem Church as a new member, and this man came up and said,
if I get some guys together, would you direct a group of guys for Easter?
And I said, no, I won't.
Couldn't hurt. It'd only be a one-time deal. It'd just be a few of us and we're done.
When he said that, what he didn't know was that I was thinking, I've never just done a group of guys, and if it was only once, it probably wouldn't hurt. And so, but I resisted and I said, well, actually, the problem is I don't know anybody. And he said,
it's not a problem. I know some guys and I'll get them together. All you have to do is direct them.
That's exactly what he said. And so he got them together, and I directed them. And it worked out. And then a few months later, and that was it. It was a one-time event. I was satisfied. It was over and done. My choir directing days were finished.
It turns out that during that time, I was on the music committee for a camp meeting. And that was the only year I was actually the chairman of the music committee. So I thought, well, we have this group. Why don't we get them together and we can sing the finale for camp meeting? And if I hadn't used the word finale, he probably wouldn't have been interested in it. But
I think it's true.
Yeah.
With that one word, the entire journey we've had hangs on that one word and all of the other things that the Lord did on the journey. But I'm a Michigan camp meeting boy, and you know, we'd have 12,000 people on the campground. We'd have a 250-voice choir and an orchestra. I knew what a finale was.
It wasn't 20, was it?
You don't do a finale with 20 people. And so I said, no, I won't do that.
Well, I knew that Paul and I and others had been in a minister's chorus at camp meeting several different years, so I thought, if we get the word to the guys that we know sing, the other pastors that we know sing, and they put it in their bulletins, we can get more guys there. I had no idea how many.
And so he asked me how many, and I said, I don't know, but I wouldn't try it with less than 50.
Okay, and Jody Melashenko, as many of you know, was at Meadow Glade then, and he had a group, and I didn't know how many, but I figured there were at least 20 or 30. And if we got other pastors and they put it in their bulletins, I thought surely we can't help but get 50. So we got, 112 or so.
That night there were
More than 50.
112 men on the platform, a 17-voice brass choir with percussion and all of the goodies that we've come to enjoy and appreciate and have helped us to make music. And it was quite an event. And I confess that when it was over, I don't like admitting this, but I confess that when it was finished, I thought to myself these exact words, wow, that was a hoot. But it wasn't a hoot. That's not what it was. It was God's design plan at the beginning of a long, long journey. And at the end of that camp meeting, there was a hand on my shoulder, and a gentleman said, hello, I'm Alf Birch. I've been president of this conference for 1 week. Could we have lunch? And Alf had a vision that night, and I think the Lord directed him to be right there in the front row, and he saw it. We met at lunch at the Olive Garden, and he said these words as I came to the table. He said, sir, do you have any idea what it is you have there? I didn't. What I said was, well, what do you think we have? He knew. And he unpacked over a period of 6 different lunches that we had together, his vision of what could happen with a vocal voice such as we had presented. And without Alf Birch, I think we also might not be here tonight.
When I was at PUC, a friend of mine named Buzz Sterrett, who'd been in the quartet that Bruce and I and our other brother had had in Academy. And when we were at PUC, Buzz got together a group of other students and had a student-led and student populated men's chorus called the Fellow Men. And I'm sure if there had never been the Fellow Men, there would never have been Oregon Adventist or Salem Adventist Men's Chorus, and then Oregon, because I wouldn't have had any experience with that. And I think that wouldn't have happened had we not, and before that, in Academy had a quartet. You never know at the time where something you're involved in, where it might lead.